Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought that I would do just a very casual get ready with me as we talk about the holiday makeup releases, the holiday sales, and maybe share some tips on how to survive them. I know I'm having a tough time, so if you want to just have a casual conversation with me, get ready with me, let's get into it. Okay, I won't really be talking about the products I use, but if you're interested on what I'm using during the video, just look in the description box below. Everything will be linked. Also, if you're new here, welcome. My name's Yadi. I love makeup. I love indie makeup, colorful makeup, luxury makeup, high-end makeup. I just like talking about makeup. I haven't been uploading as regularly, although I'm trying to manage my time so that I can have at least one video up a week, but I'll talk about that in the video as we go into it because I think it's relevant to the conversation. During the video, don't forget to subscribe, go follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and let's go ahead and get into the conversation. So, I have had my channel for, I would say, 2 years now, and was uploading very regularly. Most of my channel focused around new makeup, new releases. I would do reviews, first impressions, that sort of thing. The last year, if you've been following me for a while, was a little tough for us. Our family was hit really hard with COVID. So at that time, I was busy, obviously just taking care of my family, going back and forth to the hospital with my husband, making sure he was okay. He's okay, he's home. But during that time, consistency became an issue for me on YouTube. And so because I wasn't uploading as much, I instantly just stopped buying as much. So during the time that I wasn't buying as much, like a funny thing has happened, right? My husband was very sick and couldn't work. He's actually been sick for almost a year. And we became a single income household, which I always like to follow it up with saying, like, we're extremely blessed. I work hard, we make sure that we have enough to cover our bills and to make sure my kids are okay, but it is tough. Now, because I stopped buying as much makeup, not all makeup, I started to enjoy my current collection. Now, that was just like a funny little thing that happened because although I've always enjoyed makeup, or at least for the last few years, I've enjoyed makeup so much. I love trying new formulas, especially complexion products. Of course, the eyeshadow releases, like, they just get you, they're so pretty, and you're constantly looking at new releases, new color stories, new formulas, all of that. I started enjoying what I had, and so that's always kind of been the topic of conversation with my husband and I, with my sister and I. They're a little more frugal, more like money conscious than I am. And it was always like, use what you have, enjoy what you have, that sort of conversation. And so it just naturally happened that way because I didn't have a lot of time. Again, like, I'm a single income household now, and I'm responsible for making sure that my family's okay, that they have what they need. And that's a lot of pressure, but I definitely rose to the challenge. And so for me, it was more about like, show up. They're betting on you. There's a lot of work to be done. Naturally, I didn't have a lot of time. And so what happens is that YouTube is not my day job. It's not what pays me. So naturally, I stopped giving it as much time. And so what happened is every morning, I would still come into my makeup room. I would still be so excited about what palette I was going to use, what look I was going to create that day. That never went away. And so what I learned through these last few months is a love of beauty is a love of beauty. Like, it doesn't matter if it's new, if it's old, if the color story is, I don't know, not relevant anymore. I don't know how that makes sense, but you know what I mean. It doesn't matter. I just like doing my makeup. I just like picking out a new palette every day because God knows I have a whole wall full of palettes that hardly ever get touched. And so I started going through my collection and I realized there's so much beautiful stuff in there, but I forgot, or I didn't fully know, or I didn't fully immerse myself in what I had because there was just always the new coming through the door. I mean, we got to the point where I would get 4 and 5 shipments a day. Like, I don't know. I've lightly done the math of what I did the first year on YouTube as far as spending. It's ugly, you guys. It's so ugly. Anyway, so that's the preface for this video. I wanted to share what I'm doing and the techniques that I'm going to be using to not be sucked in by the FOMO, not be sucked in by all the beautiful pictures and the releases that are coming out. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so tip number one, I wrote them down because I didn't want to forget. Tip number one, watch the releases. I know this seems counterintuitive. A lot of channels that tell you how to save money will tell you like, turn off those sales and marketing emails, unsubscribe from Instagram accounts, those sort of things. And yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, another way of doing it. My whole thing is I'm not going to stop buying makeup. Okay. I'm just not. I love makeup so much. I am a makeup enthusiast and I want to buy some. I just can't buy all. And honestly, after enjoying my collection as much as I have the last 4 or 5 months, I don't want to buy it all, you know? So watch the releases. Now, the reason why I say this is because in the past, I've just kind of been one of those that just will say, I'm not going to buy anything, I'm not going to buy anything. And then I bury my head in the ground and I don't open up Trend Mood, don't open up Makeup Craze. And what ends up happening is, of course, people are resharing the releases. Of course, people are talking about them and they're excited. And so eventually what ends up happening is that I get into a position where the release is coming soon, maybe in the next day or even a few hours prior to the release. I haven't looked at the collection. I don't know what's there. And I haven't had time to digest fully, like, what do I like? What don't I like? Like, instead of giving into the FOMO and the hype and buying everything, I believe that if you start watching the releases and looking at it and making sure that you really do want what's in that collection, that will help your purchasing decisions the day of the release. Now, I'll give you an example. A couple days ago, Pat McGrath released the announcement of the holiday collection that she is putting out. She is putting out a massive holiday collection. Honestly, like, it took my breath away. It was so good. It was so colorful. It's so pretty, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted everything the moment that I saw it. But instantly what I started thinking is, okay, let's start picking this collection apart, seeing what I'm actually gonna use, seeing what I'm not. Now, if you noticed that the day after she released the full holiday collection and she did the full reveal, literally the day after, she's like, it's dropping this Friday. Do you know what she's doing? She's capitalizing on everyone's emotions. She knows that if she moves fast, people will purchase a lot more without even thinking about it because they're just like so overcome with excitement and emotion. And instead of thinking rationally through it, we just buy. And, you know, not that I'm not assuming that everybody does this. I know that I do this. And so what I will say is watch the releases, pull them apart. Like, do you really like them? Or is it because everybody else is saying that they're pretty? And I fall into this all the time. It's like, I got to a point where there would be a new release and I would actually pick up the phone and call my friends here there's a couple friends that I have here on YouTube, and I'd be like, hey, what are we buying? What are we doing? Like if this was a group effort with a joint bank account, you know what I mean? And although I love people's opinions, that's why we watch YouTube, to be honest, is I like to hear people's reviews and opinions on products. Nobody else shares the burden of my financial responsibilities, and so I have to be careful with that. That's so pretty. I'm using one of the Mega Motherships. Anyway, so tip number one, watch the release, go through it carefully. It will prevent impulse buying. Okay, tip number two is try and dupe the new release. Now, we all hear this all the time, and yes, it is a good idea to look at what you currently have to see if the releases are innovative, if they're different, or if you don't have anything like that in your collection. I mean, I just feel like it's 2022, and yes, although I recognize that there could be newcomers to the beauty space every single day, I myself had never even heard of beauty YouTube until a few years ago, like 3 years ago. So I recognize that there's new people that are coming on to this platform every day to look for beauty that are new to beauty. In general, like, people that watch beauty YouTube have more makeup than the normal consumer, and makeup brands are just not that innovative. They're just not that different. Color stories are pretty, you know, they can get creative, but in general, that's why I love indie so much when it comes to eyeshadow, because they do it a little bit differently. Now, in addition to duping what is releasing with your existing collection, I would say once you find a dupe, if you find a dupe in your collection, be realistic about what you've done with that dupe. And let me give you an example. So I posted a TikTok once about the Gemini palette, the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette. I had wanted it for so long, but it wasn't available. Then they announced that they were releasing Gemini 1 and 2, and I instantly was like, no, I'm trying to save money. I can't be buying everything, but like the color story is green and I'm freaking out. It's so beautiful. Like I've wanted it forever. Everybody says it's so good. And so what I did is I looked at the color story closely and like the looks that I thought that I could make with that palette. And in that TikTok, I'll leave the link below, I totally duped it. The look was gorgeous, you guys. And what did I do? I still bought the palette. Now, in reality, I don't wear that kind of look every single day. So I bought the palette, and then I bought Gemini 2 as well during the release. And I think I've used it like once after the video. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So like, be realistic about that dupe. If you actually find the dupe, have you used the dupe? Do you like the dupe? Is it something that you absolutely feel like you need a second of? And then make your decision that way. Tip number 3, and this is one that is a little harder for me than someone that's not on YouTube, but it became easier because I wasn't posting regularly. Tip number 3 is if you can wait. And what I mean by that is, because especially for people that are avid watchers of beauty YouTube, it's, you know, we're constantly being bombarded with all the new releases, all the new sneak peeks. We have Trend Mood, we have Makeup Craze, we have Makeup Release Radar, and we normally will follow those accounts, and so we just feel like we have to buy it on release date. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's been a shift. Like, for instance, when I started my YouTube channel in 2020, there would be sneak peeks of releases, and people were just, we were home, we were bored, we wanted something to do, and so for a hyped release, or one that everybody was so excited about, you had to buy it on launch date or it was going to sell out. And so I understand that a little bit more, but nowadays, I don't know if you guys have noticed, I don't believe that brands are getting ready with more inventory. Sure, maybe some, but for the most part, like releases, new releases are not selling out within minutes, within hours. They're just not. I mean, there's a couple brands, don't get me wrong, like DUPE Cosmetics, always sells out right away. But Pat McGrath releases that would sell out before, they don't sell out anymore right away. You know, other brands like Natasha Denona, different brands like that, like they're just not selling out right away. I believe that it has a lot to do with the state of things. Like we're not immune to the news and the media and everything that we hear about the economy and what's going on with recession, a possible recession. And so I feel like people are already shifting that way. We're being a little more mindful about what we buy. And so my recommendation would be, if you're not a YouTuber that is focused solely on new releases and you have to get it up as quickly as possible, I would suggest just wait. You know why? Because sometimes, like, I'm still very much somebody that has FOMO. It has gone away slightly during these last few months that I'm not rushing to get the new releases. But what happens is, because technically speaking, like, makeup is not something, it's not a need, it's a want. And so what happens is, when you take the emotion out of it, when you wait a little bit, you start to either forget about the new release, or you see something else that you like that's better, that maybe fits your collection a little bit more. And so that feeling goes away. Now, if it doesn't, you know, Makeup Craze had this comment on one of her posts recently, and I really loved that. And it said, if you can wait, wait. What I love about some of these new holiday releases is, if they're coming out now, that means they'll be 20% off during the Sephora VIB sale, depending on your tier, of course. But if you wait and you don't absolutely have to have it right then and there, you could save some money. Which takes me to my next point. If you can wait, wait. And remember that the Sephora VIB sale is coming. So tip number 4 is take into consideration what you will be buying from Sephora VIB. Now, I don't only mean like the new stuff that you'll be buying by Sephora VIB, the new releases, but what I mean by that is take into consideration, you know, what you need to re-up on. I use the Sephora VIB sale to buy skincare products that I need more of, hair products that I need more of, or if I've been wanting, you know, to try a certain foundation or something, I wait till it goes on sale. And so take into consideration how much you've allocated to spend on the Sephora VIB sale and then how much is left to buy these new releases. Because, I mean, I don't know about you. I'm sure, well, I shouldn't assume. Some of you might have an unlimited budget for makeup, but I don't, and most of us don't. Most of us don't have unlimited budgets that we could just spend freely and frivolously without, you know, kind of budgeting for it. So I would say, think about the stuff that's in your Sephora Loves list that you've been waiting for the Sephora VIB sale on, and then take into consideration all these new releases, which one fits into that strategic budget and which one doesn't, and then think about it that way. Ooh, the next one hits hard for me, not only because I am a content creator, but because I do this so much. And this, honestly, you guys, this is what gets me in trouble the most. Now, along with holiday releases, some of them are being released early. And so, as I mentioned, the Sephora VIB sale is coming. So some of those we might be able to snag 20% off or 15 or 10% off, depending on your tier. But one thing that I am going to try and exercise this time is do not overconsume beauty YouTube, Sephora VIB sale recommendations, or wish list videos. Now, the reason for that, I'm telling you, this happens to me every time, and I know better, and I still do it. But I will have a very modest list for my Sephora VIB sale. Okay, I've learned over the years that stuff, especially some of the more popular products, they sell out right away. And so I normally am the type, I'm a rouge. I don't know that I'll be a rouge next year, but I'm the one that like will build their cart and it's ready to go at 12:01, honey. And I'm in Texas, so it's 11:01 Eastern, you know, Central Standard Time. And I just check out immediately because if there's like a really hyped product, it sells out. I have to wait for it to come back into stock. That leads into a second and third Sephora order that I just add additional crap to. And so after I place my first Sephora order, what happens every time, even though I try to resist it, is after I place my order, I will start watching recommendation videos. And it's like, why are you doing this? You know what happens to you when you do this, but I will do it anyway. And so I will start watching people's recommendation lists. And of course, they're different than mine. We're all different people. We like different things and we need different things for our skincare re-ups, things like that. But when I start watching Sephora recommendation videos, I am influenced. I'm convinced. And so I start adding to cart, and that leads me to have a second Sephora order, a third Sephora order. And so I am going to try really hard not to do this time, because this last time was when I actually paid attention and noticed it. And I was like, wait, all of the crap that I had, the bulk of what I spent during the Sephora VIB sale wasn't even in my cart. It wasn't even items that I was considering. They were just stuff that I had added after watching these recommendation videos. Now, I'm not going to say don't watch them all, but maybe wait a day or two after the Sephora sale starts and watch as many videos as you can prior to make educated decisions. But go into it with the mentality that unless there's something super duper compelling that somebody shares in their video that you never thought of, that you absolutely need, I would just say go into it just, you know, to kind of see if there's a little something else that you should be on the lookout for. But don't overconsume them like I do, because that leads to impulse buying it leads to adding things to cart that I never even considered because they're not part of like my makeup wardrobe. Like I don't normally buy stuff like that anyway. Most of the stuff that I end up impulse buying, you guys, I don't even end up using as much or liking. And so go with your gut instinct on that and don't overconsume YouTube during those times. Okay, tip number 6. This is something that I have to relearn to do. This is something that I already do with my kids, but for whatever reason, the rules don't apply to me, you know? But I would say take all of the holiday releases that you're interested in, make a list, divide it by half, and then choose from that half list an item or two that you'll purchase. Now, this is just, we were doing this the other day because we were buying a couple of like pieces of clothing for fall for the kids. And so they like to buy their clothes on this app. It's called ASOS. Really cool stuff. Boys love it. There's a lot of sales. There's always sales. And so I always say like pick a few items, you know, pick 3 or 4 pairs of pants, 3 or 4 sweaters, things like that. And then we're going to pick from those what you'd like. Now, what happens with me, I'm an adult, damn it. I make my own money. I can buy whatever I want. But that's the mentality that got me in the situation that I'm in today, where I have this collection that's somewhat out of control, to be honest, and I don't use it all. I don't enjoy it all, but I created this mess myself. And so I was thinking the other day when I did this with them, and they were so happy. They picked out a few items that they were interested in. Then, you know, we went through the list together. If they had items in there that looked similar to other stuff they had, I reminded them and we took some stuff out, and then they ended up with a couple good staple pieces for the fall that they loved. So it just made me think, like, how come I never do that? Like, I buy what I buy, I see what I want, and I just get it. And it's like, that's the mentality that sometimes happens during all the excitement and hype of the new releases. It's like, okay, I'm getting it. Okay, I'm getting it. And so I would say that that's a good tip, is take what you have, make a list. This goes back to like researching the new releases. Don't bury your head in the sand and make educated decisions. And that's what I'm going to try to do. You know, whatever happened, I know back in the day, it was more about like treating yourself, you know, like you would treat yourself to one thing. And I mean, the way I grew up, like we grew up in a way that like for our birthdays and Christmases, we didn't really get like a wish list item per se. Our wish list item was something that we needed. You know, we grew up in a home where my parents didn't really make a lot. They were ministers. And so we would get, if we needed shoes, we would get shoes for Christmas. You know, we would get that one item. So I would say it's a little more special when you treat yourself to that one thing, you know, as opposed to having 7 or 8 things that it loses its value a little bit. You know, it doesn't feel as special. And so I would say like treat yourself. But when you say treat yourself, like treat yourself to that one thing that you wouldn't normally buy on an everyday basis. That's special. You know, you'll enjoy it, you'll treasure it, you'll get time with it. If you have a bunch of stuff, like that's what was happening to me, is I didn't have time to enjoy anything because I had everything. And so that's what I would say is a good strategy. Take your list, cut it by half, and then slash it again. Tip number 7, and the last tip that I have, and one that I kind of just wanted to talk through in general, a little bit at a deeper level for me, but you know, for anybody that this would be helpful for, is keep your other financial goals front and center. I mean, when I think about it, this should have been number 1, but you know, sometimes it's like we don't want to be called out. I know I don't, so I kind of avoid it, but keep your other financial goals front and center. Again, going back to just the state of things, you know, with prices going up, inflation, recession, war, just instability. Like there's so much going on. At the same time, like life doesn't stop because of all of that stuff that's going on, you know, but it makes it maybe a little bit difficult or a little harder to attain. So for instance, buying a house, like interest rates are up right now, you know, they're up for sure over 4% with another 3/4 of a point that is increasing before the end of the year is what they're saying, if not more. I think there's 2 more interest rate hikes before the end of the year. Now, I'll tell you just a personal story. We moved here to Texas beginning of 2020. And so we didn't like, we moved from California, and we weren't like those people that had like sold our homes and had like hundreds of thousands of dollars cash to just come and just buy something cash. That wasn't our situation at all. We actually came with very little money, and we rented because we weren't sure which area we truly liked for the kids and everything. In addition to that, you know, the pandemic shut everything down. And we said, let's wait 1 more year. Then we got sick with COVID. Then my husband was really, really sick. We didn't know if he'd make it. So we decided not to buy going into the 3rd year here because honestly, at some point, I just thought I was going to be getting ready to plan a funeral, to be honest. So we didn't buy. Come now to the present day, interest rates are high. The market is crazy in Texas to the point where the price of the homes here is very, very comparable to the price of California and where I used to live in California. So it kind of seems like crazy that I would spend that much money for a house here when California was very comparably priced. And so there's just a lot going on. And so right now I share that personal story because, you know, people only see our social media as like a highlight reel. They don't really see like the reality of things, you know. And so it's very easy to be to misconstrue what people actually live like. And so, and a lot of people are not willing to share that. So for me, I'll share it. Like, I have a financial goal of owning a home, whether it's a home here in Texas or buying a secondary in California that we can regularly go back and visit to. Like, we want to be able to be prepared for that, you know. We want to be able to buy, taking into consideration the higher interest rates. And so there's a lot that goes into someone's life, right? Makeup isn't everything. So I guess that's a good point, is take into consideration your other goals, because there's other things we want to do. Like, we want to travel, we want to buy a house. We're a single income household. You may be too. And so having those other financial goals front and center really do help us, so that at the time that we're going to make this purchasing decision with makeup, we can kind of think about it. Now, I'm not saying like, you know, boo-hoo, you have these goals, absolutely zero discretionary spending or zero spending for makeup. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like, we all want to have just a little bit of enjoyment with our life. Like, we only get one life, but take into consideration what those financial goals are. Like, and for example, I'll share some other numbers with you. Some people or some creators, I know I've done this in the past myself too. They don't like to share how much they actually spend during the Sephora VIB sale, or how much they spend on a very luxury item. I think for a couple reasons. Now, I can't speak for anybody, I'm speaking for myself, but like for me, sometimes, especially when I would like upload like Chantecaille hauls, you know, I still love Chantecaille very much. I'm just a little more picky with the items that I buy from there because they're so expensive, are so pricey. But a lot of people won't share like exactly how much they've spent. Like, it was very normal. And I mean, if you do the math, you'll know that I'm not exaggerating, but it was very normal to drop $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 during a VIB Sephora sale. Like, that's crazy to me now, you know? And it's like, it took us losing my husband's income for me to be like, what was I doing? Like, how, in what world is that ever okay? I'll tell you a little bit about what I do. So I am an insurance broker. I'm a personal insurance broker, which means that I work on personal insurance for very high net worth individuals, for people that have first generation wealth, generational wealth, people that are extremely, extremely wealthy. And when you look at their purchasing decisions and how they make decisions in general when spending money or, you know, buying something, I always sit back and I'm like, no wonder they're rich, because they don't make on the spot decisions like that. Like, they think about things, they're strategic. They talk to their wealth managers, they talk about their financial goals, they talk about the financial allocation that goes towards spending for insurance, for estate planning, for, you know, they really look at it. They look at their personal finances as a business. And so when I look at things that way, and then to think like, the fact that I don't even got it like that, you guys, like, not at all. Like, we're very blessed and, you know, have been fortunate to have a really good job, but I don't have it like that. So the fact that I would spend this much twice a year and then everything in between with Sephora, like, no wonder I'm freaking rouge. I was spending a lot of money on shit that I don't even need. Like, when we moved to this house, I found, we've moved twice in Texas. I found a whole entire, you know, those black totes from Costco? I found an entire tote like that in my towel closet that had like very high-end and luxury skincare, re-ups, or, you know, backups that you would call them. And I was just like, oh, like, there's so much money there. Some of this stuff might even be expired. Like, keep your financial goals top of mind. It will stop you from making every, like, on the spot decision that we normally do. It will help to stop the impulse buying. Like, you know, simple little idea my sister was talking about the other day, because we have some financial goals, is let's just go back to basics and do like a dream board, you know, little things. The reason that dream boards work is because you make a dream board and then it sits in your office typically, and it's right there front and center. You see it every single day. I'm in sales. That's what I do. I'm an insurance broker. So what do producers and brokers do? We usually have a whiteboard where we have all of our prospects that we're going after listed. Why is that? It's a psychological tactic to keep those things front and center, because if they're front and center and you see them every day, you're going to keep aiming towards those goals. I would say, like, maybe don't be so like grotesque about it, you know, like, maybe don't be so hardcore like me, and, you know, be like the nagging wife that every time you want to buy something, you know, the wife is like, no, blah, 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 blah. We have this to pay, that to pay, blah, 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 right? Instead, maybe make it a little nicer. Make a dream board. Like, some way, somehow, articulate via picture what your financial goals are in a location where, you know, you'll normally go and sit in front of the laptop to buy your makeup online or whatever. And just keep those things top of mind. And I do believe that that's a tactic that will keep you from making that extra $200-300 spending that you really don't need to be spending on makeup. Okay, I did my mascara and my lipstick off camera, but ooh, I really, really like this look. I have an event tonight that I have to go to. I'm going to jump on some work calls, and then two events tonight. So I thought, classy, but still a little smoky. So love how that came out. But anyways, to wrap it up, you know, at the end of the day, makeup's for fun. Definitely don't look at this video as like a Debbie Downer video or anything like that. It's just something to help us think a little. You know, and for me especially, it's helpful because I've always been the one to just kind of bury my head in the ground and not think about it, not look at it, and then make impulse decisions. So talking through it with all of you, thinking about it, listing out things that could help me as I go into the makeup holiday season that just started, is gonna help me make better decisions. So that being said, I will pick up a couple things here and there. The Pat McGrath collection, I'm not going to buy the whole thing. And I actually really appreciate that she's releasing the Mega Mothership first. and then the rest of it. Now, be careful with that one because you might buy the Mega Mothership, which I think I'm planning on getting that one, but then you'll be sucked in for the next part of the collection because, you know, you've given it a little time in between, you've replenished your resources and whatnot, but take this and use it as you approach every holiday release, and I hope it helps. So anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Maybe some other tips that you have for us. I'm definitely not a financial guru. My finances are pitiful actually, but I am working on it. I am doing research on it. I'm making sure that I'm making the best decisions. And so definitely leave your tips down below and I'll be reading through them. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!